I agree. I say our job is to put ourselves out of a job. I tell parents that even at the beginning. I think
Yeah.
that's my job is to
Yeah.
put myself out of a job. What that looks like for every child is different, but that's the greatest day when I don't want you to stay with me for
Yeah.
we're
I don't
here
want
to
you here.
empower
Yeah.
you and your family to be able to, live each child lives their best life. My name is Nancy Marchese. I'm a board certified doctoral level behavior analyst and a clinical psychologist. My goal is to help 2 million children with autism and their families by transforming their lives, and I can't wait to help you too. But you've mentioned the financial piece a number of times, and I think this is an important thing for people to understand who may be watching or don't really understand ABA. It comes up a lot, because I look at it as an investment. I'm not talking about just the family, I'm talking about as a society, it's an
Totally.
investment, right?
Totally.
So, but it's a misunderstood investment. I find this actually very interesting that it comes up a lot in conversation because when we talk about access to other, and I believe it's healthcare. That's I got my training in the States, and
So do I.
that's how it's widely. In fact, it's a part of insurance mandates and part of healthcare packages. It's mandated as part of the Mental Health Parity Act, a beautiful thing that they have down there
Right.
to say that health is all health, whether it's physical or psychological, and as a result of that, and many populations and communities have benefited from that. The autism community is one of them, and ABA is part of that. It's not the only part of the healthcare treatment, but it is a part of healthcare treatment for individuals on the spectrum that need it.
Right. Of course.
So I find it fascinating that if we look at it from that lens, we don't really talk about other healthcare treatment in terms of dollars and cents. We just say, especially in Canada, because we're here in Canada, we have people who watch across North America, and also potentially globally. But in Canada, where we are, we talk about universal healthcare. It's like almost considered a right to some degree. We
Hmm.
pride ourselves on this
Hmm.
here, accessibility to healthcare. And we don't talk about costs of other healthcare, but we talk about it for ABA, right? It kind of gets like, oh, this is so expensive. Quite frankly, research shows the opposite. You get it on the cheap because we know what on the other side, right? You are investing in incredible things for that child and that family to be able to learn that actually you are paying if you want to look at it like a fraction of what you get in the end, right? And the alternatives are what it's much more costly to have children who don't receive therapy. But for people to understand, because it's often you've talked, of course, because families are facing like, how do I come up with this? And you
Right.
guys have done such a remarkable job for your charity to help families. Why does it cost? Like, what is ABA? What is this thing? Where does this, it's not like we're all,
What
running
is the
around
cost
like,
for it?
yeah, why does it cost this money?
I can tell you, I mean, not being on the finance committee because I'm better with words than I am with numbers, but just from a pure,
Yeah.
big picture perspective, um, for the longest time, we used to charge a certain fee at Shining Through, which was actually $15,000 less than the actual cost. So for every child that was coming in, we were losing $15,000 per kid. But it got to a point where we could no longer, it wasn't sustainable. So you have a facility, so you're either paying rent or you're paying a mortgage and you're paying repairs to keep it going. You have to have a clinical director who's properly licensed because otherwise the whatever funding's in place, the child won't get the funding unless you have the proper person,
That's right.
and they need to make a decent living for one. You have to have your therapist. It's 1-on-1, so each child has a therapist. Even the front level, you're looking at a minimum of $42,000 a year, which is nothing. Who can survive on
Yeah.
$42,000 today? But that's what we're looking at. So there's that. Then if you number of kids that you have, you're going to need a supervisor because your clinical director can't be
Yeah.
responsible for 30 children, 30 programs. They can oversee over the supervisor. So you're adding a supervisor in that. And then you have to run the business as well. So you have to have somebody who actually runs the business that
Yeah.
keeps it fiscally responsible. So you have a business manager or an executive director. Then you have administration people who pay the bills and so on and so on. So
Yeah.
it starts to add up. And there's your cost. And we only got to the point where we actually started charging the actual cost this year. But
Yeah.
otherwise, we were losing $15,000 per child.
There's only so much we could cover in the short amount of time we had today. If you found value in what we talked about, go to breakthroughautism.ca, join our newsletter, and also follow me on my socials.